Well, welcome back to the show. We are here with master grower Adrian Garcia from the state of Oregon. And just joining us is Dr. David Snipper, medical doctor here in Las Vegas.
Good to see you.
And also an expert in this brand new industry, this legalized industry, I should say, right, of marijuana.
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating. Well, we were talking earlier in the last segment a little about that, and I'd like to get your perspective as a medical doctor. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the era where people smoked pot for fun, and I admitted to everybody that I had never tried it. But
you're unusual.
Yeah, I guess I am unusual. But it's really interesting the uses now that are coming about, and and the reasons that it's being legalized in these various states. Right? Talk to us a little bit about that.
I can address the second part of your question fairly easily. It's being legalized because it's a fantastic source of revenue for the government, for the states, is the main reason. But that doesn't address the medical issue at all, which is what I consider to be the more important issue. Medically, we've discovered only in the last 30 years that there are medical uses to the plant, that it has compounds called cannabinoids, which are similar to cannabinoids inside our body. We make cannabinoids, the plant does also. They're a little different, but they work in a similar way. They create homeostasis in the organism, whether it's us or the plant. And it just so happens that one of them, THC, also creates a psychogenic effect, which is why people like to get stoned, but that's only one of the very few effects, one of the very many effects that the plant has. It affects the immune system, it affects the gastrointestinal system, it affects the way our body metabolizes things. We use cannabinoids in almost every system in our body, and there are receptors for cannabinoids where they function, so that taking cannabinoids as a medication for various illnesses is proving to be very helpful. In fact, sometimes more helpful than conventional medicines.
It's very interesting. We were talking about CBDs, and I know a lot of the CBD products on the market come from the hemp plant, but it also can come from the marijuana plant. Is there a difference? Does it matter where it comes from?
Well, there is a difference in terms of marketing and in terms of the way the plant appears. A hemp plant looks different, but it's the same plant. Hemp is a marijuana plant, but it doesn't produce THC, so it doesn't produce any psychogenic compounds, and that's why it's been proven useful in a lot of ways. And CBD is the other cannabinoid that's most prominent besides THC, which also has a lot of beneficial effects, but it doesn't make you stoned.
I see. So, what kinds of diseases or conditions that people have that could be helped by marijuana?
So let's be clear. As a doctor, I'm a scientist. So in no case am I saying that this medicine treats that disease.
Okay.
That requires scientific proof, just as it does with regular pharmaceuticals. So you phrased it correctly. What situations might this help with that? And that means anecdotally, some people seem to get better at least some of the time. And there are a lot of things to answer that. So, for example, we're finding one of the best uses is in treating pain. Whether it's THC, CBD, or both, it is one of the most effective pain medicines, in some cases as effective as narcotics. But while it's psychologically addicting, it's not physically addicting the way narcotics are, which is a huge benefit.
I was reading yesterday, I think, an article about this massive influx of pain that college students are having in the states where it's become legalized.
That's funny.
Yeah, well, that's I guess a side effect of all this, but it really is for legitimate pain, right? It really does make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, this is just my own personal opinion. I'm not saying this as a doctor, but last year it was documented there were more deaths from narcotic overdoses in this country than ever before, and more deaths than traffic accidents or violent crime. 33,000 people died last year from narcotic overdoses. That tells you really just how bad that problem is. And why? Some of it's heroin, but some of it is using your parents' drugs that they've had stashed in the cabinet for a while. It's both, and it's terrible. So the fact is that if we can get 50% of those people off of narcotics and make them feel 50% better than they do, that's a reasonable target, and that, I believe, is easily going to be achievable if people accept it.
Well, it's been said that marijuana is a gateway drug.
I love that
and
expression.
It leads to
It
other
does.
things. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a gateway drug because in this country, we're not very healthy. We spend a fortune on healthcare and we're not very healthy for that money. So we need a gateway to a better way of looking at healthcare.
So it's a gateway to good health. In other
It
words.
can be if we make it that, yes.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that people don't have problems with it. They do. That's why I think the medical profession should get more involved, because who better than us to protect people at the same time as help them take care of themselves? The government's doing a good job in making a lot of laws to make it safer.
Mm-hmm.
But in so doing, sometimes they don't have all the information they need, and sometimes the laws actually are not the most useful approach. If you get healthcare people involved as part of the team, with government people, with lawyers, with people who are in the industry all working together, we could do regulations that will protect people from the harmful effects while allowing them to experience the beneficial effects.
Now you have medical marijuana and you have recreational marijuana.
Adult
and,
use.
And these are things that both, in various states they've been voting on recently. And of course, it just passed here in Nevada. What are your thoughts about the differences there?
Again, the differences are formalities. They're surface differences. There's a spectrum of reasons. If you take alcohol, is that a medicine, or is it just to make you so oblivious to the world you don't care about anything? It can be both, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that in that sense, marijuana can do the same thing. If you get stoned out of your mind, you're not going to care about much. You can also use it to help with your pain, and there's a whole spectrum in between. Now, for political reasons, it makes more sense to classify this one as adult use and this one not, and so that's the way it's being done. I don't think that's necessarily a realistic representation of how things are, but maybe for tax reasons and whatever, it's the way it's being done. So we have to kind of look at that separation. This one we can help by promoting good safety regulations, and this one we can help by promoting good medicine. So there's a role in both regardless.
Well, I was reading that it wasn't very long ago. It was just in the teens where people, a percentage of people that thought that marijuana should be legalized, and now it's over half. And so, that's now the majority of people think that it should be, and of course we're seeing that from state to state. A lot of it's because of the money that's involved.
Yeah.
It usually boils down to money, right? But
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, please.
What I tell people, because I know a lot of people that are fairly long-term users of cannabis products, whether for recreation or for medicine, the ones who use it for recreation are pretty laid back about it, and they say, well, it doesn't kill anybody the way alcohol does. I agree, it doesn't. We didn't do such a great job with alcohol. We have opportunity to do a better job when we enact these laws. And why not? Why wouldn't we want to make it better for everybody?
Exactly. Well, you're sitting next to a master grower.
Indeed, he is.
Mr. Adrian Garcia.
Spoken
He has a reputation that's just
I've heard of his reputation
amazing.
from way down here.
Yeah, he's done some amazing things up in the Oregon area, and we talked earlier, and I think in the next segment we'll talk a little more about what he actually does. He started telling us a little bit, but I want to hear, all the little pieces about of what you do to really make these plants work in the way that they should, and all the little pieces that make it all work. But Dr. Snipper, before he does that, what kinds of things do we need to watch out for? For people that are looking, at this new legalization that's happening, and people that say, well, maybe I want to go get a medical card, maybe I want to try it. The things that we should watch out for.
Well, yeah, I can pitch something that I'm doing, if you like. So, a lot of first-time users of marijuana get paranoid. They get so paranoid that sometimes they have to go to the hospital emergency room. They just totally flip out, and they spend a day there getting tests that they don't need because it doesn't really cause any serious harm. We've got a medicine, actually, that's plant-based, but there's no cannabis in it, that reverses the paranoia, saves the people trip to the hospital, and you take just 2 little tablets, and it's called THC Rescue. I'll get you some samples. It'll be out there pretty soon. But that's just one thing. The idea is that it really doesn't kill you, but sure as heck, don't drink alcohol at the same time. Don't drive your car. Common sense things that may not be so common. If you're going to get stoned, stay where you're safe, and everything's going to be fine.
Sounds like great advice. Well, I can't wait to hear more. So when we come back, we're going to hear some more exciting thoughts about this amazing new industry that's sort of taken over the country right now. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.